So my name's Jonathan. I'm from Stardio.com. Later on, we'll have Head of Inclusive at ukactive, Tim Mathias, and Elle, as I mentioned, Elle Linton, an influencer and an instructor herself and a fitness entrepreneur. Really excited because later on, we have Dr Ayaz Bhuta MBE, who's a Paralympic gold medalist, Tokyo 22. And that's just one of many achievements. I won't go through them all. We got Stacey Denya. She has over 18 years of RAF experience and just had a variety of roles around diversity and inclusion, recruitment, counterintelligence, and she's also an ambassador or very involved with Everybody Moves, which is an initiative, a fitness initiative for people living with disabilities.
Evening, everyone. I'm Elle, and I am joined by Dr. Ayaz and also Stacey. I don't think we can spotlight everyone, but that's cool. So we will jump straight into it. And Dr. Ayaz, really great to meet you. I'm not sure how much everyone knows about your story, but if you could give us like a short overview of your story and a bit about the role that fitness plays in your life, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so hi everyone, my name is Ayaz Bhuta MBE and I am a Paralympic gold medalist in wheelchair rugby. So all throughout my life, I've been told that I can't do things because of my disability. So every time I was in school, I wasn't allowed to do any sport due to health and safety reasons. And then just having societal issues with, trying to fit in with my disability, and then trying to find a sport, trying to stay active, trying to keep fit, trying to keep healthy at first. And then I went into wheelchair basketball, and from wheelchair basketball, I was scouted into wheelchair rugby, because the difference between basketball and rugby is you're not allowed to smash into people in basketball, but I always used to smash into people in basketball. So wheelchair rugby was the great sport for me because you're allowed to ram into people. And at the beginning of my career, I still got told that I wasn't able to play internationally for Great Britain because of my height and stature. But again, showed that resilience, trained for 2 years in my club team, and then made my way back in to the Great Britain team, and then competed at 2 Paralympics, won 2 European gold medals, and then won the big one in the last Paralympics, winning the gold medal. And since then I do a lot of motivational speaking. I go into deprived areas, deprived schools. Come from a South Asian background myself, so I try and target that demographic as well, and as well as the other BAME communities, just to break down barriers. I also do some motivational speaking and corporate speaking as well. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Amazing. And then Stacey, I know that we heard you've been in the RAF. So what is it that you do now?
Hiya. So now I work for a charity called the Royal British Legion, which, if you think of the poppies around November time, that's who runs that. So they look after people like me. I'm actually a beneficiary as well as a worker. So I do equality, diversity, inclusion for them now. But sports-wise, I grew up quite poor, so I'd never really had the opportunity to get involved into anything other than kind of sports day, running around the track or whatever. So I joined the armed forces, got to dabble with loads of different things, and then I got a diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. And like as soon as I got told I had that, it was like, no, you can't do that anymore. Oh, you've got multiple sclerosis, you can't do that. I'm like, but I can still do stuff. At the time that I still could. At the time I was still able to go out running. I was still getting really high results in my fitness tests and everything, but I was still being told no. So maybe look into adaptive sport and everything like that. And eventually I got into my kind of mobility's got a little bit worse now. So I can't really walk without a stick if it's more than kind of 10 minutes. So I do a lot of indoor rowing and powerlifting as well.
Amazing. So a question to both of you. What are the most important types of fitness for people who use wheelchairs, people with long-term health conditions? And then also, do you feel like the fitness industry is doing enough to be inclusive of people who have needs beyond every day? Do you want to get Dr. Ayaz first? Let's unmute you, one sec.
Sorry. Okay. I don't think there's enough accessibility in gyms. Especially when I go to the gym, I can only use my upper body. I can only use, just like the upper body workout machines. And there are quite a few, but then in terms of cardio, you know, my gym only just got a ski erg. They have a hand bike which they like to move out because they feel that not many people use it. Like so, and then I always have to ask, where is it? Like, can I go and use it? And yeah, it's just that consideration. I don't think gyms have that. You know, it feels like we're a bit expendable. You know, I think there's one gym I've been to where it had like specific wheelchair, like people can just use their wheelchair as a seat and then work on the machines. So maybe if we can cater more towards people with disabilities and just holding classes, like accessible classes as well. Like, you know, I was trying to look for classes to join, and you know, I joined as best as I could, but they weren't specific to people with disabilities or people with impairments. It was just like a fitness class that I joined. So it's just more things like that. But there are facilities around the UK, like the English Institutes of Sports, and there's you know, all sorts of other institutes that go around. But obviously, people have to travel to them. So if we can have more of a mass market for people with disabilities to access in their local areas, that'd be great.
And Stacey, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, completely agree with what Ayaz was saying in that that we are getting better as a nation with accessibility in sport. But it's still, if you were to go onto the Everybody Moves website and look for whatever adaptive classes they've got near you, chances are you're still going to have to travel, or where I live anyway, you're still going to have to travel kind of, you know, 10 miles away, which if you're kind of in that zone of, oh, I don't know if I could be bothered to do this workout, but you're adding a 10-mile trip on top of it, chances are you're not going to go. Or if you know, if you're not in employment or anything like that, it's just adding on that additional cost and time and everything. But with the initial thing about what is best for people with disabilities, it's just down to the individual really as to what they can do and what excites them. You know, I'm not really one for, if you were to tell me oh yeah, go and do this group class or whatever in let's say the Les Mills stuff, I wouldn't really be interested. But if you were to tell me about a group class with indoor rowing or whatever, or if you're going to say we're going to do a virtual thing and there's going to be like this leaderboard, so I've got this kind of little goal to chase or whatever, that's going to get me motivated. Whereas other people, that would completely turn off, and they'd rather go and do that your Les Mills type stuff. So it really depends on the individual.
That makes a lot of sense what you both said, and we've talked about the fact that online fitness can be more accessible in the sense that you don't have to travel. We don't want to travel 10 miles all the time for a workout. So do either of you think the online fitness and the digital way of working can be a way forward for people living with disabilities? Like, what would you like to see? Dr. Ayaz?
Sorry, I just muted myself again. Yeah, definitely online would be a bit more accessible for people with disabilities, but I think we should also try and have it like inclusive days, or if there's like one inclusive class, and then it's going to take a while to build up because the you know, people with disabilities, the pool is so small. But you know, if the word spreads, or if you guys as an organization try to include people with disabilities, and they'll try and, like, the word will spread and then people will come more. And even if it's like, it doesn't have to be a specific person with disability, it can be all disabilities. Like, we can try and include that, or like it, and just having the specialist equipment in there as well. And maybe you need to send out a demographic, like doing an index where how many people need additional needs, like doing a survey, sending it out, and then see what results come back, and then trying to work off that data, and then work ways on how to recruit more people to your environment, and then try and make an impact that way, in that sense.
Okay. Stacey?
Yeah, you could offer things like upper body only classes or something like that. So one of my big bugbears is all the stuff like Fitbit and loads of the other kind of fitness apps like that. They're all centered around steps. And Ayaz will agree with me on that. That's no good for me. But if you're going to tell me that I'm doing amazingly because I've burnt this amount of calories or whatever, this is why I really like the My Zone, which I think was what John showed earlier. love the MyZone because that kind of makes it, you know, specific to your heart rate range, and you can really compete with, if you are competitive, you can really compete with your friends to see who can get the most MEPs in a month or whatever. But yeah, putting on stuff where you're thinking, right, we're going to do upper body only, you're not excluding people that are not disabled either. It's just a case of, okay, we're going to do some seated stuff today. This is a seated class. You can do it online, so people can do it from a wheelchair or from sitting on the floor or sitting wherever. And it's just kind of thinking about things instead of just doing your total body workouts. It's maybe specifically targeting areas.
Yeah, I really like that idea, actually. I might see that on my own timetable. So in terms of seeing a change, do we think that some of that change maybe needs to come from government level as well as from the people who are on the ground delivering? Ayaz?
Yeah, it definitely needs to come from a government level as well to support the funding that this comes with, and then, you know, people can apply for funding, even if that's the users themselves or if that's the organisation providing it, and also making more of an impact. So it depends what kind of impact you want to make as a company. If you really want to drive that change, if you want to get the experts involved, if you want to do that, you can do that yourselves as well. So it depends what values you've got as an organisation. Do you want to, if you want to include everybody, do you want are you committed enough to do a project, to do a community-based project to try and help people get involved? So just depends on you guys, really.
And Stacey?
Yeah, totally a government thing. I mean, we've alluded to the fact that there is an obesity epidemic in the UK. And, you know, people with disabilities like myself and Ayaz, if we were to just sit back and do nothing because nothing's available for us, chances are we'd become obese. And then with that brings a whole host of other kind of comorbidities to go with our already disability. So I know it might be an initial kind of outlay from the government, but hopefully you'd see it kind of reciprocated in prolonging our lives, living better lives, and not being a drain on the NHS down the road because we're having to have carers come in and look after us and stuff. And I think one of the kicks up the bum for me was as a young, I was 23 when I found out about the MS, and I was a bit of a drinker back then. I'd done 3 years based out in Cyprus with the Air Force. And I was a little bit porky. And then as soon as I got told, yeah, you've got like a 50% chance of developing MS, lead a healthy life as possible, that was the kick up the butt to make you think, okay, I'm going to start taking stuff seriously. And that's when it still took another 6 years for me to actually start getting involved in competitive sport at the age of 29. But yeah, now I love it. It's like a little dopamine hit every workout.
I think Jonathan's going to kill me because I am over time.
No,
thank you.
That was really
thank
interesting.
Thank you so much, guys,
if I just
for your time.
I'll remove spotlights just so it's all on me. No, I don't know. Add spotlight. I'm here with Annie still. No, that was really. Thank you so much, that for both perspectives. I know, Ayaz, you got to shoot. I can't see you anymore. Where have you gone? How do I? Has he gone already? May have gone. But yeah, I know you are there, Ayaz. Thank you so much. And Stacey, I'd like to follow up and talk to you a little bit more. I think it'd be really interesting to maybe, I know you both kind of do motivational talks as well, and maybe it might be an interesting project to further develop this. You know, there's over 5 million wheelchair users in the UK alone. And I can't imagine anything that if I go to Bannatyne and certainly my gym now, but I guess the other side of that is if you then say, well, there's online, does that not push toward that, you know, especially people who've recently become wheelchair users, does that not make them feel even more isolated? Because obviously online you're at home, so there's all these things to think about, because you know you want to get out, there's still the social factor of mixing with people. So I always think it has to be a hybrid. And as you say, Stacey, that it just seems to be such a disconnect between the obviously benefits of health from physical to mental and the cost to the country, if we're going to put it in monetary terms, right? So I know you got to shoot. Yes, thank you so much. And we will pass over to Tim from UK Active. And I shall spotlight you now.
Thank you, Jonathan. And look, hello everyone. I'm Tim from UK Active. I didn't actually expect many of you to know who UK Active were or are. We are the trade body for the physical activity industry membership-based body, 4,500 members. So classically, they are physical facilities, gyms, fitness, leisure centres up and down the country. But we do have suppliers on there. I think at the last count, we had 18 mirror manufacturers, which blew my mind. But of course, changing rooms on the gym floor, you've all got mirrors, etc. What do we actually do as a membership-based organisation? Well, look, we're here to represent the industry, protect, inform it, tickle it and guide it along to get it into a better place. You may well have heard of us over the course of the pandemic, where we introduced kind of the cleaning regimen for gyms and fitness facilities. We were campaigning to government for us to open ahead of pubs and hospitality. That was a big challenge. We do loads of research. So again, I'll touch upon COVID very quickly. We were able to prove that actually COVID transmission within gyms was very low. One of the safest places you could have been was in a swimming pool, for example, given the way it's treated. On a day-to-day basis, we work with our members, we work with people like you. If you've got a question related to your operations or there's something on your mind, you can ring us up, email us, and we'll get you through to the right person to offer some specialist advice. We put on events. We've got our awards coming up in October to celebrate the industry, all the amazing things it does. We have our annual conference. And finally, we run campaigns. So we've got National Fitness Day coming up on the 20th of September next month. It's a completely free to enter sort of day to celebrate fitness. Come and get involved. There's a free toolkit on the National Fitness Day website, which we can get out to you after this. Where do I actually fit in to all this? Look, I'm the lead for inclusion at UK Active. So it's my job, and I try not to use this word, but it's to transform this industry to be more inclusive across the board. When I use the word transform, it suggests we're doing something wrong. It suggests there's a big challenge of the industry. But the reality is the numbers speak for themselves. Jonathan touched upon this. About 12-13% of the population regularly use fitness gym, leisure centre on a regular basis. And for us, it's just not enough. It's just not enough at all. So we have just introduced a plan called Vision 2030. By 2030, we want to get 5 million more people regularly exercising. And look, we're a people industry. We're about getting people fitter, looking better, feeling better. So naturally, inclusion is going to be central to targeting those 5 million extra people. And look, you as fitness professionals have got a massive role to play. And I'll talk about kind of my philosophy relating to inclusion. I think customer service and the contact points you have with individuals working across the industry, depending on who you ask, between 250,000 to 500,000 people working in the industry in some kind of capacity, you can't ignore us. We're huge, but we want more and more people getting fit. Just about inclusion, why actually bother? Let's get down to this. Those industries who are ignoring inclusion are coming a cropper. Look at some sports where they've got it wrong. Look at some industries where they're excluding people. It's the right thing to do. But let me be quite frank, commercially, there's a massive opportunity when you're looking to expand your consumer base, listening to more people and getting people involved who would otherwise never be part of your product or service. There's a couple of ways we approach inclusion at UK Active. We've got a campaign, policy, lobbying, resource or insight for what I would call every protected characteristic, be it age, disability, gender, sexual orientation. All of these are free to access. You don't actually have to be a UK Active member because we think it's the right thing to do and the industry will benefit from it. There's three that I want to touch upon. One is our work for 55 plus. It's called Life in Our Years, and it's all about the relationship older people can have with being fit. Big recommendations on there in terms of the level of information we provide to the older consumer and that level of assurance that they're going to be listened to. Feedback's really important. The second one is our work and our campaign with This Girl Can. It's all about women and girls and engaging with them. Societally, and Jonathan's touched upon this, intimidation, harassment, feelings of safety is a big societal issue. The numbers really are quite staggering. And look, when we talk about personal safety and violence against women and girls, that doesn't stop on the threshold of a gym, for example. So we're doing our bit to train staff up, get more harassment policies off the back of that work. Staggeringly, we asked 1,000 women their experiences of gyms. And this is the start of my comparison between in-person physical facilities gyms and the online offer, is 3/4 of women said that they'd been intimidated, harassed, had a comment, been approached inappropriately on the gym floor. And that is just a staggering, unacceptable number that the industry needs to address. We've kickstarted that as part of our Safer Spaces campaign. The final element I just want to touch upon is our relationship with disability as an industry. And we've got a campaign called Everyone Can. And as the name suggests, we genuinely believe that there is an option, a product, a service for everyone across this industry. I've never worked in an industry where I genuinely believe there's something for everyone. And I've worked in the police and also professional sport previously. Philosophically, I've got a big interest in disability, and I'll tell you why. I feel if we solicit the views of disabled people and we act upon them, those recommendations, those actions will benefit society at large, disabled or otherwise. And the work that we've just completed, we asked 1,500 disabled people their views across the industry. I believe the recommendations for that are the blueprint moving forward for us. We wanted to drag the debate away from step-free access, whether the lift works, or how many car parking spaces you've got for disabled people, because really that's covered in, let's say, building regulations. We really needed to drag this debate into 2023 and make big improvements for disabled people. Ayaz has mentioned the equipment for one. There's a couple of themes that came through, and it was just that level of information that we provide to a disabled person or a mainstream able-bodied person before they attend a class, before they attend a facility. And it's my biggest bugbear across this industry, I'll be quite frank with you. Stacey and I has also mentioned it in terms of that level of information you get. Are there classes that are inclusive? We need to do better as an industry to provide that level of information. I love virtual tours. I love chat functions. I love the opportunity to get in touch with an instructor so we can set that expectation before you turn up. Because quite frankly, gyms are intimidating places. The research also shows that people are self-conscious. I can't think of a more, intimidating place if you're worried about being watched or whether your form's correct. We just need someone to support you. And I think that's the role that you can play as Fit Pros also. Just touch upon sort of those levels of customer service, because I think that's an area that you can really excel. There's a couple of examples when we ran the focus groups with the disabled people as part of that work, and this is all freely available. You can download it from our Everyone Can website. There was one example of an individual who really benefited from spin classes, but felt really self-conscious because after about 20 minutes, this is his words, not mine, fundamentally felt sort of pins and needles sensation, needed to tap out, take a break for a moment. He felt too self-conscious to do that in person. So he was looking at the online options for an opportunity just to take a break. The other example was a lady with arthritis. And she turned up to a yoga session in person. And at the start of the session, the instructor said, has anyone got any illnesses, any injuries? Is there anything I need to know? And this individual felt so self-conscious, putting her hand up and saying, look, I might have some challenge with mobility and my arthritis. You're not going to do that in front of 30 other people that you've never met before. So here's where I'm going with this. I think there's a massive opportunity for digital for us to exercise greater levels of tact, to communicate with our customers beforehand, to set that level of expectation. What will the class look like? What can I expect? Can I take any questions in advance? I really like it when I book an event and I'm asked, do you have any access requirements? So you can let the organizer know in advance that there might be something we need to take into consideration. And of course, it extends beyond disabled people. It could be someone with anxiety. It could be someone who's a little bit self-conscious. It could be someone whose fitness level possibly isn't where they want it to be right now. And we have a massive opportunity as role models and representation as fitness professionals to be able to put those people at ease. So here's my number one recommendation above sort of providing that level of information beforehand. Let's reach out, let's ask the question before our classes. Let's solicit feedback after as well. And that's a really important element. Whenever I book a restaurant or get invited to a restaurant, if I'm lucky, I always look at the menu beforehand and I probably know what I'm going to order before I turn up. So I know what to expect. And I also look at the TripAdvisor reviews so I can see what other people have experienced at that particular restaurant, what dish was good, where was the best seat, what can I expect? So I think your customers also are possibly your best marketing tool, even more so for those from underrepresented groups. I've talked at you for a little while. Hopefully I've spoken about some of the resources that we can provide at ukactive. It's all free to download on ukactive website. We can send a few out after this webinar also. We've got a massive opportunity with this industry. We cannot afford to let inclusion slip, but please do not be intimidated by it. And I think the first port of call, and congrats to Stardio and Jonathan for putting this call in, let's talk about it, let's get it out in the open. I'm obsessed with various persona types to change an industry. On the right-hand side, you've got people who are committed and supportive of inclusion. That's you, just by dialing into this talk. On the other side, you've probably got saboteurs. You've probably got people who are a bit vulnerable, a bit nervous, and that's fine. And that's my job to guide this industry along and bring them along so they're supportive, committed, and we can make that change we can as an industry. I've spoken for long enough. I've spoken at you. I'd love to chat more. Jonathan, how does that sound as an intro?
No, that's really, really interesting. I know time is short, but I would definitely just encourage anybody to obviously go to the UK Active website, check out those resources, and maybe connect with you on LinkedIn to explore the opportunities. I think the challenge is there is so much out there. There's so many people underserved with conditions, or mental, or physical, or remote, or financial, all these things where people are prevented. And interesting what you said about the intimidation. The gym that I've joined now, the manageress actually said to me she finds the gym so intimidating that she didn't work out there for 2 weeks. I mean, she's the manageress. I remember going to a gym with my mother, actually. I think it was Fitness for Less. And I remember you said, oh, that's not for me. It's way too young and neon lights and stuff like that. Not for somebody, I'm not going to give you away your age. But so she felt instantly excluded from that environment. And so it's trying to work out. I remember when I went to Perform X Live, there was this conversation about, I mean, I love the neon lights. I love the music. I love the Les Mills grit, the brutality. But I'm learning that that's quite niche, really. So thank you so much, Tim. That's really interesting. I think what we'll do now, just because we're sort of coming to the end, if it's okay, Elle, I am just going to go straight to Ashley and Adele, actually. So Ashley, if I just spotlight you, if you can just describe what your business is, and I will remove the spotlight, and I'll just tell us a bit about your company, what you did through COVID, and also I'm quite curious about your business model. Is a bit different to everybody else's, isn't it?
Yeah, so we were, like everyone before the pandemic, based in gyms and running our own fitness classes, and ours are very much led by mental health. So that is kind of first and foremost what kind of leads everything. So when we promote it, it's very much about come along to improve and strengthen your mental health. And then obviously when the pandemic hit, like everyone, we had to go online, and we kind of really enjoyed it. It kind of nailed it. We didn't put a cost attached. We just made it a donation-based class, and we actually did really well. And 3.5 years later, we're still doing online classes, and thankfully, still really successful as well. We still, obviously have gone back into gyms and studios, doing classes in person, but we kind of have a bit of a mixed balance. But I mean, I came today mainly because I wanted to know more about inclusivity and how we can make our classes more inclusive. So what I've learned today has been great, and it's definitely going to be a lot more for me to go away and think about. But mental health, and this is what I appreciated what you said at the beginning, is really what drives our classes and what we do. And we're now working with a lot of charities and organisations where we're supporting them with mental health, but through fitness, and how to promote fitness from a mental health kind of perspective as well. And that's what I think really kind of sets us aside in terms of what we offer. So the pandemic really kind of changed our business for the better. So, the silver lining of that was that it helped us to kind of grow and reach more people. And I didn't for one second think that we'd still be teaching online classes 3.5 years later, but we've got a very kind of core like group of people that come now, and they haven't changed. They've been with us for the 3.5 years, and so we now as a business want to grow even more and be more inclusive, and also just kind of grow the platform a little bit more. So hence why I'm here tonight to learn more about who we can reach out to.
Yeah, Elle just asked, how do you make that donation only as a business sustainable?
So, I mean, when we started it, everyone said to us, no, that's not going to work. People will take advantage. And 90% of the people that come to our classes will donate. We have a setup where people can make a monthly donation. And we obviously have like just one-off donations as well. So we'll get people that will just make donations when they can. We've got probably half the people that come make a monthly donation, and that hasn't really changed. And we just are really honest with the community when we teach the classes, where we say, they are free for everyone. And the reason we wanted them to be free for everybody is because we know that one of the big reasons for people not attending fitness classes is financial. And so we as a business who were promoting mental health were then thinking we were kind of really being a bit hypocritical by saying, yeah, we're going to offer this and we're really promoting mental health, but if you can't afford it, sorry, you can't come along. When actually people struggling financially are probably some of the kind of the main people out there that really need support and kind of encouragement to get along and look after themselves. So we really kind of just went out on a whim and trusted our instincts to believe in what we offer. And I would say to anyone, if what you do is good and you're as inclusive as you can be whilst learning how to be even more so, that kind of just trust the kindness in people. Most people, if they love what they're coming to, and if they can see how much energy and love and passion you put into it, they will reward you with money as well. As long as you're open and honest about it. We will always say, this class is a donation-based fitness class. If you can afford to, it'd be amazing if you can buy us a coffee or whatever you can afford. That's what keeps the platform free for everyone. So not only are you supporting us as a business, but you're also supporting everyone out there who might not be able to donate right now. And we've had people that couldn't donate at a certain time, and then a year or so down the line, they've made a big donation and said, "Oh, I'm more financially secure now." And so I'd like to kind of say thank you for the help and the fact that we have this space for them to come along and enjoy themselves and work out. So I think my biggest tip would be believe in the kindness of people, because the majority of people will reward you with like financially if you ask for it.
I have to say, I'm so delighted to have got involved in this industry. Some of the loveliest people ever. So it's such a lovely people person industry that it makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. But it's really interesting that it sounds like your primary kind of focus is that mental health angle. So you're not like, I remember you saying to me, Ashley, once, we don't do things like killer workouts, which is something that would appeal to me, but you're not. You're actually far more about the mental health. I know time's running out, but I did a trial about a year and a half ago, and I couldn't understand why men don't do group exercise. Just why don't we do it? I got 15 volunteers, and I put them through their very first group X, which was actually Les Mills Body Combat. You wouldn't believe how much they loved it, right? But getting them to try it was almost impossible. It took forever. But two of those guys then signed up to the gym. Signed up to the I can't remember if they signed up to the gym or signed up to the classes, because they weren't all a member of the gym. I think they signed up to the gym. I can't remember, but it was a good result out of 15. Just shows to try. But anyway, the point of that story was somebody emailed me this beautiful email. He had a lot of mental health problems, depression, anxiety. He'd suffered from homelessness a few years ago. I think there was some addiction problems there. And the most beautiful email I said, can I post that online with your permission to show the power of, and he said he said he finally found something that made him feel happy. He couldn't join the gym because he hadn't got the money. He couldn't even join online because he couldn't afford a laptop. It's very sad, but it just showed the power of that. And if we think about all the issues mental health brings, and companies like Ashley and Elle just asked a question, which I think is very valid, well, very important to know. And we kind of ran out of time. I did have a whole marketing speak, but maybe we'll do another schedule. But how do you get new customers, Ashley? Is it word of mouth, or do you do marketing? Are you always on Canva?
No, so I mean, it's something we want to get better at, because I think we probably just got a bit lazy this year, where I think the pandemic probably took it out of all of us when we moved online, and obviously being self-employed and that kind of not knowing what was going to happen. So the first 18 months was just all go, go, go. And when we were kind of successful, I think we just ran with that. So this year, because we've been working with charities and organizations, and we provide running support for people signing up to run marathons for certain charities and things like that, and we offer mental health workshops for some businesses in London. We've kind of had that as our secondary income, and that's actually been, meant that we could just relax a little bit with the online platform. And of course, like all online classes, the attendance has gone down, but we still have that core group of people that come. We regularly get 30 in the winter, 40, 50 people still come in, and we offer
That's really
5
good
classes
numbers
a week. So, it's been really good, but we definitely haven't seen as many new people come in this year. And so that was, again, another reason why I wanted to come along tonight, was because we know we want to attract more people, but in particular, we especially want to attract people with disabilities and be as inclusive as possible, so that we are kind of living up to our ethos of making our classes accessible for everyone. So that's kind of our goal now for the rest of the year, is to open up and try and get more people coming. So I think what you said earlier, where it was the number 2 trend and now it's number 13, there's no reason why people can't get back online. We can make it fun. We can get those people that refuse to go into gyms. I managed gyms for 11 years in London, so I know how intimidating they can be. And when you said, John, about the manager saying it took 2 weeks, I managed gym for 11 years. I was exactly the same. When I would start a new gym, it would take me a couple of weeks before I would go out on the gym floor and have a workout. And that's coming from someone who's worked and lived and breathed in gyms. So, most people are intimidated. And I think they're definitely there's a massive demographic of people out there that we can get back online if we have the right platform for them.
Marvelous. That's really interesting. Thanks, Ashley. We've got a couple of minutes left. Has anybody, Adele or Cara, I don't know how I put it. Melody, have you got any questions? Or because we have run out of time, it might be that we put another one in a month or so. I probably got through about 40% of what I wanted to say. So there is quite a lot of other stuff. Everybody moves. Okay, thank you, Stacey. That's really interesting. But for the last couple of minutes, do you have any questions? Maybe for Tim or Stacey? Obviously, we can talk on the Facebook group anyway, but do you have any questions for Stacey and Tim while they're on the line, if anybody's got questions?
I have something to say which can give everyone else some time. I think that what Tim said about sharing what people can expect before they come to classes was a really big point that I've taken on board. And also he mentioned campaigns like This Girl Can, and I have realized, because I had a call recently with my local county council, which is Essex, and I think that companies like those, I call them a company because they are, companies like those, they have done so much research into people who aren't active, people who have long-term conditions. We spoke about women and girls and older adults and people with disabilities. And I think that they, know the language to use. So when we're sharing about what to expect, how to talk to these people, so that we don't, again, intimidate them and put them off from coming using words and language that they are not used to or interested in. And secondly, the county councils, guys, they have a lot of money. They just don't have the money to let us know that they have that money, which sounds counterintuitive. But if they don't spend that money, it goes back to Sport England, it goes back to wherever they got it from. I know that Essex have got loads of money from Ride London coming to Essex. So they get over £1 million a year now to put into community projects. So that's another place to contact your local active person. There's people who look after cycling, running, older adults, all of those areas. So that'll be my one big takeaway and tip from what we've spoken about today.
That's really interesting. Yeah, the LEPs, there's lots, but we've experienced that where they have to give the money. And if it's for a real good, genuine thing, I mean, the government put £3 million into the Wolverhampton Better Health app to reward people. I had got a whole thing about how do we reward our clients. So thank you so much for joining. I know it's a difficult time, but I really appreciate all the people coming through, and I shall record it, send you the recording, and I will probably send you some links as well. And thank you to Tim, Stacey, and Elle. All right. Have a nice evening, everybody.